Hello everyone. In Chinese we say Ni Hao Ma. Welcome to this edition of the Speak the Truth in Love Ministry with Miss Veronica Mirembe Benedictio. And in this edition, I want to give a title, Marriage Does Not Solve Loneliness. Or Marriage Never Solves Loneliness but Only Exposes It. Mu Luganda nandikiyise nti obufumbo tebujjaawo oba buteebowa, but it exposes it. I want to share something very crucial to young people out there who are thinking about marriage. And this is a message I also believe can help married people. Because at times people are so wounded in their marriages because probably they didn't know such truth before getting married. At times I tell myself, people silence me about so many things about marriage. You are not married. What are you talking about? And I keep telling people, you will not silence me about the truth I am seeing in marriages, about the truth I see when I counsel people, So at times I share these things out of what I am seeing. It may not be experience, but through what you are seeing that is ongoing and where relationships have very many unresolved conflicts. And I use all this research to come up with such messages. So let me speak to someone. You have to know marriage does not solve loneliness, but only exposes it. Because most of us get married. Now, let me first share this. Most of us enter relationships out of pressure, societal pressure, family pressure, We enter relationships because the world is talking, We enter relationships because of fear of being alone, because of loneliness, At times we enter relationships for the wrong reason. And the reason why so many people get married for the wrong reason, and they end up being wounded, being frustrated, because at times we enter relationships for the wrong reasons. Now let me speak to someone out there. Never enter a relationship out of fear of being alone, out of loneliness. You want a man to tell you how you're beautiful. You want a man to tell you how you're intelligent. You want a woman to tell you, there are certain things I'm trying to share. There are emotional needs that are only, they come from within and then they are given by our Creator. And that is why whenever you enter relationships out of loneliness, out of societal pressure, out of fear of being alone, you will be so wounded because you have not known certain truths about marriage and relationships that I'm here to convey in such a video. Kankubuulire gwe omukyali ali eyo, gwe omwami ali eyo. No woman is the source of your happiness when you have not learned how to be happy alone. No man is the source of your happiness when you have not learned how to be happy on your own. And it's the reason I share such messages with the world, to help young people at times not repeat the same mistakes people have made. Personally, I speak to myself. Veronica singa nafumbirwa ku myaka 25, 26, 24 eyali essaala yange kuba nakulira mu kanisa obulamu bwange bwonna, I don't think I would have been in marriage right now. But because I have known certain truths, I don't think I'll repeat certain mistakes I have seen my friends make, my family people make, people around me, because I have known truth that has set me free. It is why I'm telling someone, marriage does not solve loneliness. Obufumbo tebujjaawo ekyo nti bwe bukusanyusa. It is why I'm telling someone, no human being is the source of your happiness when you have not learned how to be happy alone. Do not think a woman is going to make you happy. A man is going to make you happy when you have not first learned how to be happy on your own. Olina okusooka okumanya nti essanyu gwasooka okulyereetera ng'omuntu omulala tannali kuleetera. Because most people enter relationships because of fear of being alone, loneliness, societal pressure, and we enter relationships when we are not whole and complete, and the reason why we are so wounded and frustrated in marriages because we have not known certain truth. There are things I speak to myself. No human being can satisfy emotional needs. There are certain needs that are emotional. Bintu bya ku mutima. There are things like worth, identity, solving your insecurities. No man is going to be the source of your happiness. It's why I tell people, Veronica, no man gives me identity. Now let me speak to ladies out there. We are getting married because you are looking for identity in a man. No man is the source of your happiness, the source of your worth, the source of your identity when you have not learned that your identity comes from within and it comes from your creator. It is why at times we have allowed our identity come from our spouses, come from our men, from the women, and when they disappoint us, we feel so low, we feel so broken, people are into depression, there is no happiness in homes, kubanga omukyala wo wamufula identity yo, omwami wo wamufula identity yo. Byengamba abantu byenneegamba. There are things we have to know. Buli woofuula omwana w'omuntu identity yo, you're going to be so wounded. Kyova olaba ng'omukyala ojja kuzaala ogejje omwami akuyita embizzi kikumalemu nnyo amaanyi kubanga omwami oyo walowooza nti like yakuwa identity. Mulimu ebintu nga byenneebuulirira. Know your identity before entering a relationship. Ojja genda mu bufumbo omwami akomewo leeti otandika okukyankalana ate ng'oluusi ayina gy'ali naye kyekireta you have insecurities you have not worked on and you will be bringing them to your spouse. You will find a man because he's insecure na controlling omukyala tamukkiriza kukola alowooza bagenda mubba kuba ateyekkiririzaamu. You have not worked on your ego, your insecurities as a man, kati nobeera ng'obireeta ku spouse wo, and that is the reason at times to have no happiness in their marriages. You know, it is what I tell people out there, it is what I speak to myself, we who are still singles. There are certain emotional needs you are not going to find in a human being. It is why I tell young girls out there, whenever you think you are getting married for happiness, you will be so wounded. Omanyi, I'm getting married for happiness. Njagala kuzaala kundetera ssanyu. I'm telling you, you will be so wounded. Nothing in this world gives you happiness when you have not learned how to be happy on your own, when you have not learned how to get happiness from your creator. Because at times women, ladies, we make these men our security. We are getting married, you're getting identity, ndize muchala gundi, you know, and at the end of the day, tomainti no yo mwami. He also has his insecurities he's battling with, he will not tell you. Naye ina weaknesses, he also has his identity issues you can never know about. But you are making him the source of your identity, the source of your happiness, which is so wrong. You know, it is why I speak to myself, Veronica. Learn how to create your own happiness before entering a relationship. Yiga okwewe sanyu, okweretera emirembe, nga tonalowooza ku mwami. Kuba buli wolowooza nti omwami yagenda okuleetera essanyu, you will be so disappointed. It is why you see so many people get married, but after 3 months, nga awulira talina ssanyu mu bufumbo, because you went to get happiness in a human being. Essanyu olinoonya mwana wa muntu, which is so wrong. You know, and it is why I'm speaking to so many people. We live in a generation where so many people are married but they are lonely. So many people are clingy to their spouses because they hardly knew such truth before getting married. It is the reason omwami wakomawo leeti, omwami watabeerawo n'owulira nga you're not happy because you are so clingy to this man because you have made him the source of your happiness and you do not know this man also has to have a life. It's what I tell singles out there. Have a life before entering a relationship. You know, do not make a man the source of your happiness, but try to find happiness within. Byengamba abaana abawala, yiga okwewa essanyu nga like, there are things we tell, omanyi wenna zaala, even abantu batugamba, zaala yakanako kakujjeko stress. No, who tells you nti omwana yajjako stress? No, there are things I tell, ayina kamuwe kati ke kamuletera stress, naye agezaako kulaga, omanyi zaalayo kamu kakujjeko stress. There is no omwana takujjako stress. Those are very false things we have believed as a generation. You allow society put you on pressure. Omanyi zaala yakanako kakujjeko stress. Naye nga akamu ako kayina ke kamuletera stress. Because there are things we have believed. You think a child is the source of your happiness. You think a man is the source of your happiness. And you do not know how disturbed you will be. Ngoina akaana akamu naye nga tosobola kalabirira tekaliiko taata, and you are battling as a single mother lwakuba wafuna akaana kujjako stress. No, there are things I tell people. The world never, abantu batugamba biki bye bayitamu ne bagezaako kulaga nga oli loser. But we do not know certain truth as a generation, and it's why you see we keep on making the same mistakes. because we have not known truth. No, there are things I ask people. Omanyi Zara yakanako kakujjeko stress. Ng'akamu kainako kikamuletera stress. No, there are things we take for granted, but as long as you defile order. I have seen ladies who have all the money. Nengo mwana taliko tata nga chava taina sanyu. You know? And the reason I tell people out there, marriage does not solve loneliness. Marriage does not bring happiness. This thing, omanyi wenna zaala nja kuba musanyufu. Omanyi wenna afumbirwa nja. You are so wrong. Because no human being brings happiness when you have not learned how to be happy on your own. It is why I tell people, learn the art of being complete and whole before entering a relationship. Beranga wemalanga omuntu. Because when two whole and complete people come together, we understand that marriage is meant for complementing each other and not completing each other. You know, because most of us think marriage completes, which is so wrong. Marriage does not complete. Marriage only complements. It is the reason I speak to us when two complete people come together who have learned how to create their own happiness, who have learned how to draw their happiness from their creator, come together to make a marriage, in a relationship, it will be beautiful because they are not depending on each other for emotional needs. They have learned how to be happy on their own, so the marriage is just meant to bring them together and complement them and not completing each other. You know, it is why I tell single ladies out there, why I tell single men, learn how to be complete and whole before entering a relationship. You know, because when you are complete and whole, you are not going to be clingy to a man, you are not going to be clingy to a woman, because you're complete. Ojudengo omuntu. Togenda kulowooza nti mwami yakusanyusa nti mukyala yakusanyusa kubanga ojjuddenga omuntu. You know, because God knew marriage is about complementing and not completing each other. Chovala wotunira abaana abawala. Omanyi wenna afumbira that when I get married is when I will be happy. You will be very wounded because marriage does not bring happiness. You know, we do not go to marriage to get happiness, but we go to marriage to give happiness. No, let me reveal these things to young people. You think you are getting married for a man to make you happy? No, gwegendo omusanyuse. Because marriage would not go to marriage to get, but to give. And when you go with that mindset, it is why you will see, you will be able to bear each other's weaknesses, because mindset ekututeyo omanyi, togenze kufuna, naye nawe ogenze kuwayo. You have gone to sacrifice your ego as a man, you have gone to give of your happiness, to give of your joy, but you have not gone to get. You know, but most of us go to marriage to get happiness and not to give happiness. It is the reason I tell people you will be so disappointed because you think marriage brings happiness. You know, there are things we have to learn as a generation before getting married. Love is a choice. It is not a feeling. It is why I tell people whenever you enter a relationship, because feelings and emotions do not sustain a relationship. But what sustains a relationship is character. Byembulira mu videos zange abaana abawala obufumbo mpisa. Kana akabina kaggwako, fige gwako, obulungi buggwawo ng'ekikuuma obufumbo bwompisa. Kyembulira abaana abawala ku videos zange kuno obufumbo mpisa. When we learn certain truths, marriage is about respecting a man. No sango bano ba planned kid n'abogolera omusajja. There are things I speak to young girls, I speak to myself. Obufumbo mpisa. Akabina kajja kufunisa omusajja. Fige ajja kufunisa omusajja naye empisa ze zikuuma omwami. Mulimu ebintu nga tuba tetubiyize ne wonooyingira obufumbo tebugenda kubaamu makulu kuba tobiyize ng'omwana omuwala. No, I speak to myself, Veronica, a submissive character. A humble character, a patient character, obufumbo bugumikiriza, a hardworking character. Togenda kufimbira nga tusaba kulabirira mwami, otandika okulowooza nti you will be happy in your home. And these are things that are happening in our generation. Nosanga omwana omuwala, omwami n'agula nakati, n'amulekaawo kwa ali ku ssimu ye. You are so lazy as a lady, and the reason why you open doors in your marriage and you are blaming witchcraft, you are blaming demons, stepmothers. We have to know certain obufumbo bugumikiriza kusonyiwa forgiveness. Marriage is known for the bad-tempered, the quarrelsome, the unforgiving, the impatient. You cannot keep a marriage when you are bad-tempered. And the reason I tell to singles, in this season of singlehood, work on your temper. Veronica, work on your temper. Because we take these things for granted. But they're the reason why people have no peace in their marriages. Akantu katoneka kujjako waya n'osunguwala. And the other thing I tell people, it is very important to work on our emotional maturity. Before entering relationships. When you are emotionally mature, you know how to handle a woman, you know how to handle a man. Baby, no biengamba abami, work on your ego issues before entering a relationship. Because when you don't work on your ego, bija kutawanya amakago. Because you have gone to control a woman. And yet marriage is about submitting to one another. But because you have not worked on your ego, no, we live in a where men are so controlling, and the reason at times women cannot submit, because there's a difference between submission and controlling. There are men who want to control women, but they are calling it submission, which is wrong. And the reason people have no happiness. No, I speak to young men, a handsome face, a handsome wallet, a six-pack, a rich wallet, nature chikumu omukyala ambalayo mpisa. Koze bino bengamba abantu gino emibiri gikyuka ng'ekintu ekigenda okuma obufumbo bamuwe mpisa. It is your character. And if we have not worked on our characters, you cannot keep a marriage or relationship because we have not known certain truth. It is knowing the art of disagreement as a couple. Abantu abasinga, they have no happiness because of disagreements, unresolved conflict. But I ask you, ogenda nga tewali disagreement where there is no conflict? Because abantu ababiri, it is the reason why God brings people in a covenant. Because he knows two different people are not going to agree on everything. Naye abantu abasinga lwakuba I disagree with my spouse, emirembe ne give mu nyumba. And who tells you? But learning the art of disagreement as a couple is something very important. Where you agree to disagree, but you will remain one as a couple. Knowing because you are disagreeing with your wife, you are disagreeing with your husband, does not make him your enemy. You can disagree, but still love and respect each other as a couple. Because disagreements are inevitable in marriage. Togenda kusanga nti mugenda kubeera abasanyufu, tekisobola kubeerawo. And the reason why God calls it a covenant. Because he knew marriage is about bearing each other's weaknesses. But we live in a generation where we concentrate on people's weaknesses in marriage. And that's why abantu balina ssanyu mu bufumbo. Ate nga malayika togenda musangayo kwa ne wona azungirawo, buli omu alina pepa ye, buli omu alina package ye, malayika taliyo. And the reason when we learn such truth as a generation, omukyala n'obeera ng'oyombayomba waka ng'omusajja buli ssaawa addukawo, naye nga kyeki muddusa tewali mirembe waka. No, there are truth I have learned as a young girl, I'm not a girl, I'm a lady. Naye sinnazaala nkyeyita girl. There are things you fight. No saying omukyala, she's denying their husband conjugal rights. Wachi lwakuba banyiize. And you are opening doors in your marriage. Omwami ajagenda azaala abaana akuleetera abaana naye nga gwe yagula enzigi anti olowooza olwaniramu ekyo. And there are things we have to know, we have to use wisdom. Veronica kati emyaka gyendu nkuze. Because I have seen how those things fight people's marriages and they have no happiness. You deny a man conjugal rights because you are angry. And you have to know disagreements are inevitable. And those disagreements are not your marriage. Because you can agree to disagree but still remain one as a couple and resolve your conflict. It's what takes me to my other point. The people go through disagreements in marriages. Naye buli omu abatabuka ayita mukyala w'embizi, ayita mwami w'embwa. Because the way people handle conflict in marriage is what makes the difference. And it's what I tell people in our generation. Ojja kungamba weepanka tukulinze ninda naye amazima gano ngategedde aganfudde ow'eddembe. Because there are things why people have no happiness in their marriage. Unresolved conflict. Abantu bonna banyiiga mu bufumbo naye buli abanyiiga asibira mwami we bweru. Buli anyiiga amuyita mbwa, buli anyiiga amuyita mbizi. And so what I'm telling people, learning the art of disagreement as a couple in a marriage will keep your marriage. You know, as I'm finishing this audio, let me remind someone, work on your identity before entering a relationship. Work on your insecurities, where you're not going to think a man is the source of your identity. No, there are things I tell people. Having a finger on my ring, a ring on my finger, having a man's name is not my identity. My identity is Veronica. Nze muchala Veronica, Mirembe, Nabikolo, Mukisa, Namata. A man does not give me identity. Identity sijja mukubera muchala gundi. I don't get my identity because I'm a mother. My identity first comes from within. It comes from my creator. And when I go to a relationship when I'm complete, I don't think omwami ajja kukola ekintu oba ozadde ogejjulu kusampita embizi kimmalemu. But I know my identity is in God. Whether big, whether with a figure, whether not, my identity is in God. It is not in a man. See the things I tell, work on your insecurities as a woman, as a lady before going in for marriage. Baby name tabalina mirembe maka omwami lwakuba akomyewo leeti ali wantu naye nga bibena omwami oluusi talimbo bajjama amukutte naye nga bye bikutabula obwongo. You have no peace in your home because you have not worked on your insecurities and you are passing them to your spouse, and that is the reason people have no happiness in their homes. Buli omwami w'omulaba n'omukyalo alabika amwagala because you have not worked on yourself as a lady. You are making this man your identity. You are so clingy to this man. You are so clingy to this woman. And that's why you have no happiness in your home. No, let me tell young people out there who are not yet married. Work on your inner wounds. Let us work on our inner wounds. On our identity. On our insecurities. Do not think a man is going to solve your inner wounds when you have not solved them on your own. And that's why you see people are so broken. Because we have not learned such truths. Tomanyi nti you in a marriage there will be unhappy days, those mundane days, because marriage is not about daily happiness. It's not about roses and flowers. It is what I tell people. Never get to marry to a man you cannot respect, because those unhappy days will be there. But how do you go through them? It is knowing abantu abalina katonda obufumbo beera different. Because it is growing in the fruit of the spirit every day. Okubala ebibala n'omuntu wo buli lunaku. Knowing truth that love is a choice. Like the Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is patient, love is kind, love is humble. Where you know love is a choice. Ng'omwami akeera kunyiza, but because you chose him. Togenda munyigira, togenda mu conjugal rights, because you chose him. Where you show daily grace to your spouse. Because you're also not perfect. Now you're not supposed to concentrate on your spouse's weaknesses because you have known such truths. And that's why I'm sharing with young people in this video. Marriage does not solve loneliness. And the reason, do not enter a relationship because of loneliness, because of fear, because you will be wounded. Marriage is about patience. It is about sacrifice. Togenda kusanga muntu alina byonna nga mulina okwegumikiriza. By'atalina olina obikumikiza, by'otalina olina n'obigumikiza, kyekyo kibufuula obufumbo. It is not about daily happiness. That's why you see when you get married and n'olaba omwami aboggodde mbuzi njagala kudda waffe. Togenda kusanga yatagenda, buli omu abeera ne character ye. Every man has their package. Every woman has their package. As a result, when you keep running, you will not find any perfect. Malaika taliyo. There is no saint. It is why I tell young people, it's why I speak to myself. There is no perfect husband. There is no perfect spouse. There is no perfect marriage. Abantu bonna babeera ne ups and downs in their marriage. But the way they handle conflict is what makes their marriages better and beautiful, because they have learned the art, of disagreement as a couple. They have learned, that obutategeera bujja kubeerawo, but they know how to solve and resolve their conflict. And it's why I'm speaking to young men. Towasa ntumbwe na kabina newasa omukyala ayina embala, kubanga entumbwe na kabina biggwako ng'embala yegenda okukuuma obufumbo bwammwe. It's why, as I'm finished, let me speak to someone. Marriage never solves loneliness but only exposes it. Thank you very much for listening to me and have a beautiful day. Veronica, peace, blessing.